Hello! This is a reply video for Kelly. She is reading Harry Potter for the first time, and she explains it in a video, link in the Wunderbar below. And she says, what are your thoughts about it? And here are my thoughts. I read the first chapter again last night, and it's called The Boy Who Lived. Summation, basically talks about the Dursleys, talks about Uncle Vernon and how he notices weird things, and then later on Harry is dropped off at the Dursleys. That is all that it is in that chapter. And I quite liked it. I thought it was, I have read the whole book. I think it is quite fun, but this chapter is quite good. It sets it up very well. It says about the Dursleys. It kind of goes into it. And my favourite bit of this chapter, possibly of the book, my favourite thing is the name Grannings. And Grannings is the company that Uncle Vernon works for, and they make drills. But just Grannings, it sounds so good, because you know that it's not real, because no company would want to be called that, and yet it sounds right. It sounds like it should be like that. And it sums up the person that Uncle Vernon is. He is it's a drab word, very dreary, and yet it fits it so well. And I think J.K. Rowling has done she managed to pick that word, as she does with most words. Like most of the spells and stuff, they sound elegant a lot of the times when they have to be elegant, and they're very onomatopoeic. And she is good at this. Like Voldemort, evil. Dumbledore, oh soft. Hermione, oh, Ron, kind of, not, that doesn't really work. And the Dursleys, Grunnings, horrible sounding words. And she does do this very well, and it has worked in her favour. It goes a bit into the backstory of the Dursleys, but I don't know, I find that it's too two-dimensional. It doesn't go into like why they're so horrible people. I think it just kind of just says, they are horrible people. Here we have horrible people, that these are good people later on in the book. This is, how's it going to work? Oh, they're going to be terrible. That's kind of all it does. It sets it up. But it's still, I think it's like in Cinderella. Cinderella has the horrible stepmom and the stepsisters. And in this book, you have you have the uncle and aunt, who are both horrible, and you have the cousin, who is equally horrible. It's the kind of it's the fairy tale evil family. I mean, I get that this is kind of a bit children's-y, and it's very fantasy, and so you have that element where people will go, oh, you don't need to go into it, but I don't know, the way that they are now, it always has annoyed me. I mean, when I watched the films, that was the thing that annoyed me, as well as the child actors. The Dursleys were the things that annoyed me, because it just seemed a bit too stereotypical. It works in fairy tales, but whenever you're trying to base it like this, I mean, where in a place where magic exists and everything, and the most unbelievable thing in a world where there is magic and all this stuff, the most unbelievable thing that I find in it is the Dursleys, who are supposed to be like normal people. I loved Grunnings. I think that's fantastic. I love the names of things, and it's a good idea. I just don't think it's carried out that well. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Second thing. Here's a thing that really annoyed me, and all it is, it's actually in the picture. This. Now, in the book, The Deathly Hallows, it is referred to as a deluminator, and that's a great name. It's like Grunnings. Grunnings, yeah, great. Deluminator, yeah, great. Godric's Hollow, yeah, fantastic. I mean, let's go with the sort of onomatopoeic thing, because that's where it kind of works in fantasy and that kind of stuff. But in this, before it was called a deluminator, it was called a put-outer. And it's... I don't like... For a book where there are spells and stuff, which you can kind of tell what they are, but it's still magical and a bit Latin-y, for a book that has that sort of stuff in it, and yet refers to one of the things, a magical thing. This is like the first bit of well, other than transformation, this is the first bit. Actually, no. Yeah, this is one of the first bits of like magic that you see a wizard using, and is described in detail, and it's called a put-outer. I don't like that. You've got J.K. Rowling, who can come up with great names for stuff, and yet she does that, and it annoys me. Because in this book, Sirius Black is in this. He's mentioned in a sentence, because they ask Hagrid where he got the motorbike from. He says, "Oh, I got it from that Sirius Black fella," and he's a big thing. And he's in a sentence, and there's just, for like the whole book, he's in a sentence, and isn't mentioned again until The Prisoner of Azkaban, I don't think, anyway, he might be. But you've got things like that, where you think, yeah, she's carried on stuff from here. And she's thought about stuff, she's thought about a lot of this. And yet, comes up with put-outer. I don't know, it's just a bit of a letdown. I find it's very nitpicky. Really, really nitpicky, but it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's a bit where she's strong a lot of the time, and this just kind of lets it down. I don't like that. Another thing about Dumbledore, he says, like someone says, can't you? I think McGonagall says, can't you remove the scar from Harry's head? And Dumbledore says, no, scars can come in useful. For instance, I have one of the London Underground on my knee. Which is useful how? How? Okay, they use trains to get to Hogwarts. I can kind of see why. I mean, they've got brooms. They can appear, they can apparate, and just... But no, they use a blooming train. And, I mean, it's a magical train. I can kind of see, oh, you have to get through a pillar to go in. Oh, it's kind of magical. No, London Underground is not magical. It's urine-soaked. It's kind of interesting sometimes. You can like hear different conversations going on, which are kind of interesting, kind of funny sometimes. You can see you can see a lot of drunk people staggering around late at night. But there isn't magic to it. There just isn't. And yet Dumbledore, the most powerful wizard in the wizarding world, well, in the world, let's go with that. In the world, the most powerful wizard still uses the train. Still uses the tube stations. So, should we just appear? Should we just apparate somewhere? No. I'm going to pay to go on the tubes, go along the Victoria line, and appear back at this place. No. I mean, I get that he kind of likes Muggle stuff because he likes sherbet lemons and things like that, and McGonagall doesn't know what they are. But the tube, why would you use the tube? You can fly, you can apparate, you can probably get dragons, and yet the tube station. It's just plot holes like this, like the put-outer, like that, because Rowling knew what she was doing when she was doing this, because she wrote like the story goes that she wrote the last chapter of the last book whilst or before this or something like that, and yet I get it's quirky. It's quirky and that whole thing, but McGonagall used the map, and it's kind of, they're still using human stuff like Muggle stuff, But they're magic. There must be a spell that can just like go, oh, direct me to this place, and it'll go bam, and there'll probably be like a sat navigatory, where you go sat navigatory and bam, and it says in 300 yards turn left, in 400 yards carry on, bear left, da, 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 da. You have reached your destination. You are at Privet Drive. But no, they don't have that. They don't have some way of telling where they are, apart from a map. You got things that float. You can make things float. And yet you can't find another thing for a map. You can't find a magical replacement for a map. I like this book. I quite like it. But they just have plot holes. And like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong and it like explains stuff in this, in the later books and stuff that I have obviously missed or something along the way, then tell me. But at the moment, I don't know. The whole thing is that they're like trying to fit in and that sort of stuff. But she's a cat. If she were a person reading a map, that wouldn't draw attention to yourself. I mean, she even says, "Oh, that's like when people are making shooting stars in celebration of Voldemort dying," and she says, "Oh no, blooming people. I'm sure that's that guy who's doing that. He doesn't have any sense." She transformed into a cat and was reading a map, and she thought, "Oh, that won't arouse suspicion at all. I'll just be a cat. I might as well, be flying at this with a neon sign going, something weird, just because how can she criticize? She was a cat reading a map. And then she just been watching this one guy arousing suspicion much, reading a map, being a cat, following this guy, staring at Vernon Dursley, like bah, and he suspects something, as most people would, if a cat followed them everywhere and stared at them and read a map, and she's fine with that. Stupid. This is a teacher that thinks, oh no, Mr. Potter, you shouldn't be doing that. Oh no, you shouldn't be doing this. Oh, don't be out in the halls late at night. Don't be a cat whilst you're reading a map, because that's stupid. That's stupid. Anyway, next bit. Oh yeah, there's more. Here's the thing. When they're discussing like what happened with Harry, McGonagall asks Dumbledore what happened to him, and Dumbledore says that he didn't know. He didn't know how Harry defeated Voldemort. He said he didn't. There was a big explosion. He just killed 2 wizards, and yet this one kid, and I don't know, just somehow. And it's like, well, no. Later on. In fact, a running theme throughout this whole franchise is the fact that his mum died for him, and that it was her love that saved Harry. And it's the same one that's like running through his veins and all that thing. But here's a question. When did Dumbledore find out how Harry killed Voldemort? Did he guess? Did he just go, oh yeah, it was your love. That was it. Yeah. And your midichlorians. And you haven't washed for a while, so that kind of hurt him as well. Did he just, what? He just went, oh, it was your mum's love. Yeah, it was your mum. Good old, whatever her name is, Lily. Good old Lily. Oh, she's done a good thing for him. Not his dad's love. No, his dad's love lay dead along with him. But when did he figure that out, and why didn't he say that before? He should have said, you can kill him with your love. This is for a much later one. To sum up, I quite like the story in this, because the ideas and everything that comes through, like the way that they've integrated this whole thing, and like she does explain a lot of the history of magic and stuff, and I quite like that. But I think there are just some bits in it, just bits of writing, where she kind of ruins it. She comes up with great names for things, and then ruins it with put outer. She comes up with huge story arcs, but doesn't bother filling in some of the like big plot holes that it has. I like it. I think it's quite fun, and you will like the rest of it. I know you will. I'll probably if you like this, I'll keep doing these. You'll say, oh, it's quite nice, and I'll say, actually, no, there are bits in it that are terrible. I'll keep pointing that out. I'll be the other side of the coin of you. So they're my thoughts. So once again, if you have watched this and want to see Kelly's link in the Wunderbar below, go and read this. Read it again. Tell me your thoughts. Tell Kelly your thoughts. Actually, do it to Kelly. Because it's fun. It's a good book, and I think with the people that read it, it's always good to like analyze it again afterwards. Because that's what I do. Yeah. So, see you later.